Hi everyone. So welcome to Web Accessibility Testing Tutorial Part 1. So in this video, what I will cover is that what is web accessibility, what is web accessibility testing, and in software testing perspective, how much important it is on a day-to-day basis. This video will be helpful for the entry level people as well as experienced testing associates, like to gain understanding or like to know the main areas of accessibility and accessibility testing. So in this part 1, I will cover the high level areas that we will go throughout this video series. So I will just give you an overview of what is web accessibility and what is web accessibility testing on a high level, and the WCAG guidelines and the most important areas that needs to be covered under this accessibility and accessibility testing. So without wasting any time, let's move forward with the next slide. So if you see what is web accessibility, so I have taken this term from the like official websites uh, of web accessibility, where all the guidelines and things are mentioned. So web accessibility means that websites, tools, and technologies are designed and developed so that people with disabilities can use them. More specifically, people can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with the web, contribute to the web. Now, what it means is that any application that you are using, from a disabled user's perspective, it, it may be any form of disability, he or she should have the same ability to use that application, whether he or she is using it via keyboard or any screen reader tools they were using to access the application in an appropriate way, like the normal users using the application. So that is what accessibility. And there are n number of elements present in a particular web page. Might be some menu sections, there might be logos, there might be images, there might be videos, there might be some table contents. So there can be numerous kind of uh, elements present in a particular web page. And what accessibility is, that it is helping the disabled users to understand those elements more efficiently. And it's from the developer's perspective, like they need to implement things in a web page in such a way that from accessibility perspective as well, it should work appropriately. So here is a list of like it is not listing all the users, but web accessibility encompasses all disabilities that affect access to the web, including auditory, cognitive, neurological, physical, speech, visual, screen reader kind of things we are using for, like who has some vision issues, or like they are using those assistive technologies to understand what it has been written in the web page, or like what it has been in the page, like when they are navigating using these accessibility technologies, assistive technologies. So these are the kind of disabilities, or disable people who can use these accessibility features uh, to a maximum extent. Now, what is WCAG? This is very important. So WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So it's a standard like WCAG 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2. It explains how to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities. So it has a set of rules for each and every single element present in a web page, whether it's a form, whether it's an input field present in the form, whether it's a checkbox, whether it's a drop down, whether it's a menu, whether it's a expand collapse like state of a particular element. So all these elements, how should we make those elements accessible, like focus, visibility, focus order in a web page. So all these things are categorized in a specific way under these WCAG guidelines. So whoever from the development perspective or from the testing perspective working on web accessibility follow these guidelines, because these are the standard guidelines that all over like in any application they are following. So that is and so this is why the WCAG is so much important, because it's the standard that has been followed by all companies with all their web applications. So if you see WCAG introduction, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2 is developed through the W3C process in cooperation with individuals and organizations around the world, with a goal of providing a single shared standard for web content accessibility that meets the needs of individuals, organizations, and government internationally. So it's a standard that has been used throughout the world for any application, for any company who are building a web application. They are following this WCAG guidelines to make the application accessible to the to the users, not only to the disabled users, but whoever using the application in a, specific way, so that they can understand each and every element present in the application and interact with those elements in a efficient way. So here is the details of the WCAG different versions that has been published, like WCAG 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2 is scheduled to be finalized in 2023. Now, if I move to the next slide, what is ADA compliance? Now, ADA compliance is a very important thing in case of accessibility work. Whoever working in any particular application and the application is running in US region. So ADA compliance refers to the Americans with Disabilities Act standards for accessibility design, which states that all electronic and information technology like websites must be accessible to people with disabilities. So it's a specific guidelines that the United States maintains for any particular application that runs in their region, that should be accessible. And like it's a mandate, and you have to build a website that has to be accessible. If it is not, then you have to implement the changes of accessibility into your application to make it compliant. So that is what ADA compliance is. And there is another important term is Section 508 amendment to the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. In 1998, the US Congress amended the Rehabilitation Act to require federal agencies to make their electronic and information technology accessible to people with disabilities. So Section 508 is another rule that has been implemented to all the applications that runs for the people around the world or in the US region as well, that those applications from all perspective, from all disabled users perspective, should be accessible. People should interact with those applications like normal users perform. Now, This slide is very important. So the core principles that guide WCAG include the following. So these are the core principles that WCAG follows. And under these four principles, all kind of web elements present and what kind of fixes or what kind of implementations needs to be done for each and every element of a web page are falls under these like principles. So say for example, for the first one, perceivable, you want users to able to perceive all the information that appears on your site like text, images, video and more. Even if a user can't see your website's text or listen to your website's video, you need to provide an alternative. So that is what perceivable means. There is another principle that is called operable. You want users to have the capability to navigate your site and use all its features. Any user, for example, should have the means to use your main navigation and any site tools like calculators. So whatever applications, whatever features you have in your website, all things should be accessible to any form of disabled users. That is the objective or principle that that WCAG follows. Now, the next two, these two are also very important. One is the understandable one principle and robust principle. So understandable means you want users to have the means to understand your website content. That means users can understand your site's text, images, videos, and tools. For example, your site may include instructions for using a feature like a calculator or a contact form. Robust means you want users to have the ability to receive the same experience even if using assistive technologies. For example, people reading your content versus those using a voice reader should get the same content even if it's delivered differently. Say, for example, there is a text content, and from a normal user perspective, he or she is reading it. So, when I'm using an assistive technology, say for example, JAWS or NVDA. Those are accessibility tools that I will cover later part in my video. So whenever you are using those accessibility tools, it will read that text content. Say for example, there is a link and it has been mentioned as click here. So we can understand from a normal perspective that this link will redirect me to a different page or something related to that particular topic. But from an assistive perspective, if a screen reader user just hearing the sound click here, he or she is not understanding what actually the link will perform, whether it will open a new page, whether it will redirect to the same page, or what kind of information it will give. So you need to implement some changes in that particular link itself so that assistive technology users can understand what this click here means. Click here to open a new window, or click here to open a same page link, something like this. These kind of informations needs to be there. For any kind of images, there must be some alt attribute so that when focus is on it, screen reader reads the alt attribute which is associated with the image so that he or she can understand what that image is all about. And there are numerous other areas as well. Say for example, a video, so there must be a transcript present in any video. So if someone is not understanding what has been said in the video, or like they are not playing the video at all, they can just open the transcript and they can use the screen reader tool to read the transcript so that they can understand what actually been said in that particular video. So these are few short examples that I have shared. There are n number of examples, n number of areas we will cover in the coming days. So I hope that this particular high level video of web accessibility and how it works in a high level way, I hope you understand it. If you have any queries or any questions, you can put it in the comment box. I will definitely try to help you out on that. But for now, I will close this video and see you see you in the next video, where I will start with the details with WCAG guidelines and the elements and the principles, and in details with all the elements that falls under the WCAG. Thank you.